So today we're going to draw an emerald cabochon gemstone, a transparent gemstone. Then we need to create a new canvas, a high resolution canvas. Then you go to the actions, and for that you need to have saved in your gallery a picture of the gemstone you want to draw. Insert the image as a private mode. Then now we have the images here of many gemstones, many kinds of emeralds. Some of them are more contrasted, another one has more inclusions. And then I like this first one, then I choose it and I go to the selection tool to select this first one, this first gemstone. Select it, press copy and paste. Then you have in a new layer this single gemstone you're going to work with. Delete the other ones, the other layers that you don't need anymore. As you can see, we have in this emerald many kinds of green, many types of green. So you use the color drop to choose a medium tone for starting your drawing. Create a new layer, then choose the marker brush, size as you want. Then we are going to use the quick shape mode for having this shape, this elliptical shape. Keep it. I did something wrong, then I'm just fix with 2 fingers touching the screen. I'm going to do it again. Keep your Apple Pencil on the screen, then you have the quick shape done. We're going to use the shape of our picture for having the shape and size for our drawing. Touch the screen to define the shape, then we have it here. Erase the medium tone color and fill it. Turn invisible the image, then go to transforming tool and then enable snapping to find the right place in the middle of our screen, having these 2 vertical and horizontal lines, these yellow lines. Then you have it here. Delete the image, you don't need it anymore. And we're going to use something we find in the canvas part of our actions. It's the reference mode. Import the image. The same image we have used it for having our examples of emeralds. Then find the right size for having it as an observation part of our drawing. Then keep some time finding the differences within the gemstones. Create a new layer, there will be a clip and mask layer, where will be all the details of the gemstone. Then go to soft pressure brush, size it. Now you're going to make some shadow for having this round shape of this gemstone. Freehand now drawing. This is a way that you can use for having this round dark part of this gemstone. This is a freehand way of how we can do that. Then you already have an appearance of something round. Let's see now an easier way of how I do that. Clip and mask again, soft pressure, then use quick shape for that. Same thing. Resize it, find the right shape. Remember that you want a curved appearance gemstone. Then you have it. And go to Gaussian blur in the adjustments for having an extra blur. Slide your finger in the screen for achieving the level of blur that you want. And we're going to delete the harder way. Now we are going to do the first details of this gemstone using color drop. Go to the reference picture, then darken the first part of our gemstone that will be under the highlight. In this first part of our exercise, keep going to the reference image to pick the colors and resizing the brush. Then now I'm going to use a brighter tone that represents the internal part of our brilliance, of our refraction. We can keep doing to get this shape, this brighter shape. So now we are going to make the highlight of our gemstone. Remember that I'm not exactly following the same appearance of this gemstone because this is a reference. Choose the marker brush in white color, in another layer, clip and mask layer again. Do something similar to the example. Find the right position for that. I'm using here edit shape and quick shape mode. Fill with the color. Now we're going to apply some Gaussian blur. Slide your finger on the screen. Use the soft pressure eraser to soften some parts of this highlight, the bottom part of our highlight. Now we're going to use the same brush but a more intense touch to sharpen this top part of our highlight. Now I'm going to use the same eraser to make kind of a cut in the middle of this highlight. We can now use the transforming tool in the water part for them having a better appearance, turning a little bit bigger our highlight or a little bit more huge. So now we have our highlight, we have our deep part, we have our brighter part of our gemstone, but remember that this is not a green glass, but an emerald. An emerald, as a beryl, has some details, some inclusions, so keep some time watching all of the details you have in this gemstone. Now we are going to create a new layer under the layer of the highlight, where we are going to apply all of the details that this gemstone needs to seem like an emerald. So keep time watching it, but you go to the gemstone in the reference image and find all of the colors you need to apply some details like inclusions, dark tones, brighter tones, different hues of green. Then using color drop in the image that we have as a reference, you can have all the pictures you need to give to your drawing the appearance of a natural gemstone with inclusions and all. So try just to position the colors that you have in this image in the right parts of the drawing. You clearly can see that I'm not making exactly the same gemstone that we have. I changed the tones, I changed the place and the position of our highlight, but this is something to inspire you to use references as references, not as copy, you know. So now our emerald, Cabochon transparent emerald is basically ready. I'm just going to do some adjustment here in the highlight using the adjustments and then liquify. Using liquify you can size and resize how big will be the difference we need to do in this shape of the highlight. I'm using something, trying to do something just for making it bigger or smaller or more curved. It depends on you, on how bright you want that your emerald would seem. Well, as this is a glassy surface, we're going to do now the reflect of the background, that is our bright gray color background in the gemstone. Add a new layer. Pick the color white for making our reflect. Well, I like to do it with the marker brush, that after that I can manage how blurred it can be by Gaussian blur. It takes all the round shape, the round edges of our gemstone. And one more detail that we must consider in this cabochon is the higher that it would be, thinner and brighter the contour must be too, and lower that it is, larger and soft it is. In this case, I choose the standard size cabochon, so I'm making something like a medium contour, bright contour. I'm using the edit shape by quick shape as an elliptical shape. Then after this, I'm going to make some details like Gaussian blur, turning a little bit down the opacity of this layer. And as we don't need anymore the image of reference, I'm going to delete it. Now I apply some Gaussian blur for having a more blurred edges. Then I keep managing some details like turning the opacity level a little bit low. So I recommend you to now pay attention to some details. If you see that you need some corrections, you can just take the soft pressure eraser and erase some parts for softening some parts. And most important to do these things in the area of this highlight, because in this case you feel like a deep contrast from dark and bright. In this area we do have the impression of a really hot gemstone like diamonds, rubies, sapphires, and in this case emerald. So start making some adaptations. Now I'm going to use some colors from my emerald palette besides the colors we had in the image of reference, and you can in this case manage some darker colors or brighter colors. I just recommend you to pay attention if you are working in the right layer. You can also darken some color that you didn't find in my palette to, to get this effect of contrast in your gemstone. And there is one more thing that I really appreciate you for giving us this appearance of volume or realism, that is the drop shadow of this gemstone in its background, in its base. To make a simple drop shadow, as we have here, I just go to the base, the first layer we had that we made with the quick shape, duplicate it, go to the first one, I enable this alpha lock, I go to my palette for gray papers, choose the darker color, I reposition it for in the bottom right side, then I'm going to take this color, take the marker brush to do it and fill it with the dark gray color that we have in our palette. Deactivate the alpha lock, then apply some blur for having this appearance of shadow. So you can see here that our shadow spreads out a little bit the gemstone. Then we can make some fixes. We can take our soft pressure eraser, and as the close of the gemstone is darker by my drop shadows exercise, you can see that, but I'm using here to turn these parts close to the gemstone a little bit harder and darker, using the soft pressure too with a deeper pressure over the Apple Pencil. Can resize it using transforming tool to have the best appearance of the shadow in its right place for our correct drop shadow. And there is one more tip I use to give us this appearance of a real gemstone, is that this gemstone is high, it provocates a drop shadow, but it's also transparent. So as its color is green, I like to apply in this area of the gemstone close to the shadow some green, because if this would be a ruby, it would be something like pink or red or sapphire, because it's too transparent. So it does this kind of thing, this kind of effect in the shadow. As we are close to the final details, I'm going to manage a little bit the level of the opacity of this reflect. Darken if necessary to bring more contrast from the highlight and the bottom part dark of the gemstone, as I'm doing now. And close to the end of our drawing, I like to do something like for making a comparison from the drawing that we are making and the image. We use it as a reference. So I bring back this image to see some details, if I'm missing something, if I do miss some color, even that we are not making a copy, we're just using it as a reference. I just noticed that close to the highlight, I saw some blue tone. So I go to the highlight layer, enable the alpha lock, and apply this blue tone that I found in the highlight. And another very important fact about emeralds, this kind of gemstones with too much inclusions, is that some imperfections, some inclusions go to the surface of the glassy part of the gemstone. So for getting this appearance, I like to use the soft pressure eraser and erasing some parts of the highlight, because this highlight is what really reveals these imperfections in the surface. And finally, we have finished our Cabochon emerald gemstone. You can use it as a template for next drawings, jewelry drawings, and mainly for understanding how to apply this kind of knowledges of light, shadow, color, and highlight and drop shadow. Thank you so much for have watched this video, and I see you here in the next ones.